Nobody is going to tell you this, but I will. Here are 5 reasons why you should never move to New Zealand. I know on my channel I've talked a lot about New Zealand, about the benefits of moving to New Zealand, especially if you're moving from Africa, all right, where things may not be very, very stable and favorable for a lot of young people. What I haven't spoken about are some of the disadvantages, some of the cons of actually moving to New Zealand. Now, a lot of you watching me probably found my channel through this video I made speaking about the beautiful things, the benefits of moving to New Zealand, how you can actually move to New Zealand via work. While that is absolutely valid, there is a part to New Zealand that I haven't talked about on my channel before, and I feel like not a lot of people talk about it. So today I'm going to be sharing my 5 top reasons why you should never consider moving to New Zealand. This is not to say that New Zealand is a horrible place. There are a lot of Africans, a lot of Americans, and people of other nationalities who have settled in New Zealand and find it a warm, welcoming place. However, no matter the number of pros something has, there would be cons, and so today I'm going to be balancing it out to you guys. Now, I've taken my time out to do a very intense research on this topic, and today I will be sharing some reasons why New Zealand may not be the best option for you. Let's get started. Hi, beautiful people. If it's your first time here, thank you so much for clicking. My name is Aine. You can call me Maureen as well. And on this channel, I share all things immigration. So if you would love to catch up with immigration news all across the world, the ways you can migrate either through school or work, then you should subscribe to my channel. All right, click the subscribe button down below and let's get right into it. I'm going to be sharing these points from the least important to the most important based on my personal opinion, all right? So you definitely want to stick to the end of this video so you can see what my most important reason why you may not want to move to New Zealand really is. Number 1, New Zealand is pretty far from everything. New Zealand is an island country in the South Pacific Ocean. It is located in the continent of Oceania, which is the southwesternmost part of Polynesia. Now, this is far off where you have Australia and even other Asian countries. So it is pretty remotely located and isolated. And this means that when you live in New Zealand, you're far away from everything else. If you want to travel, you have to make plans. You obviously have to spend so much more on transportation. That's cost of flying from that part of the world to maybe Europe, America, or even Africa. All right. So it's important that you know this. I feel like this is one reason a lot of people get demotivated from migrating to Australia. But let me shock you, New Zealand is even farther away. So while this might work for a lot of people, I feel like not a lot of people would fancy the distance. Some people still want to have close proximity to family members or other relatives that live in other parts of the world. So yeah, so if you don't have a knack for far places, you want to stay close to home, then maybe New Zealand may not be the country for you. Now, number 2, New Zealand is a very small country. Now, when I say New Zealand is very small, I mean very small. New Zealand only has a total population of a little above 5 million people. Now, this is just 1/4 of the total population of people in, say, Lagos State in Nigeria. That's just crazy. And it is the entire country. By landmass, New Zealand is just a little above 250,000 square kilometers. That's pretty small, especially for someone coming from Africa or one of the other bigger Western countries. So yeah, bear that in mind, all right? New Zealand is pretty small. Now, some of the big cities in New Zealand includes Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch, and even though they are the big cities, they are technically very small when compared to a lot of cities in Africa or even in America. So yeah, bear that in mind. Now, one thing you need to also know is that there wouldn't be that busy, buzzy, town life that you're probably used to where you're coming from. So if you're looking for a change in scenery, probably you want to take a break from the hustle and bustle of the big cities and you want to come somewhere more remote and more slow paced, this is definitely going to be beneficial to you. However, if you're like, let's say an extrovert looking for a bubbly life, you're looking for big places to go, you're looking for parks, cinemas, places you can go to have fun generally, then maybe New Zealand may not be the place for you. Now, number 3 would be the cost of living. The cost of living in New Zealand is relatively high. I would say it really depends on what you're comparing it to. Because for people who are migrating from places like the UK, the US, it may not necessarily pose a big problem. But if you're coming from Africa, having to convert the currency wherever you are in Africa, it's definitely going to feel like it's a lot. But I've had a lot of people reach out to me from the UK who want to move to New Zealand. And considering the difference in currency between New Zealand dollars and Great British pounds, then I don't think you should have a problem, because eventually when you arrive, you're going to be earning in the local currency and that should be good enough for you. However, if you are moving from Africa where the currency is pretty low in value. Cost of living might be high based on your own point of view. It's good to know that rent in New Zealand is paid on a weekly basis. So let's say, for example, you find an apartment that you want to rent. Of course, you have to pay deposit. So most times you're required to pay at least 3 weeks of deposit plus that week's rent. Ideally, if the rent for that apartment is around, let's say, 500 New Zealand dollars, that means you're looking to pay at least 2,000 New Zealand dollars before you even move in, which is actually pretty huge, especially for someone coming from Africa. Salary payments mode or system in New Zealand sort of makes up for this because you are paid fortnightly. So every 2 weeks you get your salary. And so that means that you can actually offset some of the, costs, the bills and all of that before the end of the month. So you don't have to be under so much pressure to pay on a weekly basis when you're not actually earning on a weekly basis. All right. So that definitely helps. But it's also important for you to know that the minimum wage in New Zealand is around 23, 24 New Zealand dollars. All right. Now, this value has changed over the years, and I feel like it's going to continue to change with response to the inflation rate. However, it's important that you check the New Zealand website for the current minimum wage as at when you're actually watching this video. Now, number 4 on my list is actually pretty obvious. The market size in New Zealand is pretty small. If you have plans to come to New Zealand to start a small business, that might be a very slippery slope. All right. You have to plan. You have to make sure that you're very strategic. You don't want to start a business that no one will buy from. All right. The thing with a lot of New Zealanders or Kiwi people is that they usually are comfortable with what's available. Right. They don't really have that need for new things. They usually are okay and satisfied with what works for them already. So if you want to start a business, it's just advisable that you are starting a business based on their already existing needs. All right. You don't want to come with a new product out of the blue or something that they are not familiar with, because trust me, you're going to struggle. So it's best you just take your time to make sure that the product you're putting in the market is an improvement from an already existing product, not an entirely new one. That is definitely one way you can even compete with what existing in the market. So the whole idea of bringing something completely new, well, that might not work. And of course, there aren't a lot of people in New Zealand. So that just means that your market size is already limited. Now, the 5th one may be a bit bothersome because, I feel like it isn't really talked about a lot on social media. But do you know that New Zealand has one of the highest suicide rates in the world? What am I saying? New Zealand tops the chart on the list of countries with the highest suicide rates. I honestly feel like it is understandable why this could happen because of the isolation, the remote location of New Zealand, the size. There are a lot of things to do. And trust me, I feel like young people can easily slide into depression in a place like that. It's very important that if you're going to be moving to New Zealand, if you have children, if you are a young person yourself, these are important things that you need to be very much aware of. Now, I know I said I'm going to give you guys 5 major points, but let me drop a bonus point. New Zealand weather can be very unpredictable. In a day, it can rain, it can be sunny, cloudy, windy, all in the same day. If you're moving, you need to be prepared mentally to deal with that. While these are some of the top 5 reasons why I feel like you do not want to move to New Zealand, there are definitely a lot of benefits to moving to New Zealand, especially if you're moving from Africa or some other countries, even worse conditions. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. If you have any follow-up questions about this video, feel free to leave them down below and I'll definitely attend to them. And if you want to watch more videos talking about the beauty of New Zealand, then you're in the right place, guys, because I have a ton of videos talking about how you can move to New Zealand via work, via school, how to apply for your visas, and every little thing you need to know about moving to New Zealand. All right. So you should definitely check out my other videos on my channel, especially this one I've linked up here. It's definitely going to do you so much good. And until my next video, stay kind and stay blessed. Bye.